Hey, this is Kyle at Projection Hub, and today I'm going to show you how to write a storage unit business plan. I was trying to get my words right there for self-storage facility or storage unit facility. And what I'm going to show you is a free template. This is completely free. You can grab it down in the description of the video, no strings attached. But I'm going to walk through this free template and kind of show you around what's included. There's a fictitious example in there, but the main thing I'm going to do is highlight 5 key areas that if you're trying to get funding or financing approved, that are going to really make or break your business plan. So who is Projection Hub? We've helped more than 50,000 businesses and founders create financial projections for their specific loan applications, business plans, pitch decks. And so we have helped a lot of actually self-storage unit facility type businesses. And who am I? As I mentioned, my name is Kyle. And before my time with Projection Hub, I actually worked for an SBA or Small Business Administration lender for about 7 years. So reviewed thousands of business plans, refined those, worked with business owners to create loan packages for those applications. And so using that experience, I'm going to kind of go through this. And from my perspective as a former lender, things that we wanted to see in a business plan and examples to really give you the best shot to get approved for your funding. So if you like this video at any point, please give us a thumbs up. That really helps us as a small business as well. And if you want to subscribe and kind of join the channel, not all of our content is for storage units, but we have a lot of content just in general about owning a business, starting a business, running a business, growing a business. And I think you'll find that content helpful. So with that, we will go ahead and jump in. Okay, so why is your business plan important? Now, this might sound obvious or cliche, but the job of your business plan is not to educate the lender on what it is your business is doing. Now, if it was a more like novel concept that nobody had ever heard of, then yeah, you're inventing a new thing, then your business plan would need to do that. But for a storage unit or self-storage facility, that's not a novel concept. So your lender is going to be familiar with what that is. And so we want to use the precious real estate in your business plan to demonstrate your specific plan or path to success and not waste time explaining what it is that the business does. And so again, I'm going to go through here, show you each section, and then pause at those 5 key points where I feel like you really have the chance to wow your business or your potential lender. And we will do that. So first thing I'll point out here on this table of contents is you will notice that it's not incredibly long. It is only up to 16 pages. And I will say, contrary to popular belief, your business plan does not need to be long to be effective. When I was a lender, there was few things worse than being handed a 50-page business plan because we just weren't going to read it all. And so what you want to do is I would actually say that a 15 or 20-page business plan can be much more effective if packed with the important information. Much longer than that, then the important information starts to get lost in the midst of all the extra fluff and things in there. And you want to make sure your lender sees the important details and doesn't get, overwhelmed by the not important details. So try to keep it on the short side. Now you'll see in the structure of this template, you have headings, you have subheadings, and then you have a very brief kind of description of what that subheading is, and then a short 1 or 2 sentence fictitious example. So this table of contents is going to not be super reflective because there's things in here you're going to be able to replace or take out, but there's also, you're probably going to want to write more than a sentence or 2 for a lot of these, subheadings. So don't hang on too much to this 16-page thing, but just know that your guidance of 15 pages, 20 pages, that's a really nice place to be, much longer than that. Now, if you need to create a 50-page business plan as an exercise for you to feel like you really understand everything and cover your bases and have a really good plan down, definitely do that. Just whatever you hand to your lender should be a refined version of that, a kind of, tapered back version of that. So starting to get into this, first we have the executive summary. Think about this as like the cover letter to a resume for a job application. This is just going to hit the highlights of your business, of the business plan itself. Actually, the company description is kind of an extension of that. So this section is not going to make your business plan, but it can break it if you don't include it or don't put enough information in there. So fill this out thoughtfully. You could even include like a financial section highlight, like if you're startup funds, your break-even expectation, where you're getting your hoping to get your funds from. You can include that in here if you'd like. But yeah, this is just kind of to kick things off. Make sure it's included, but it's not gonna be the thing that gets you approved. All right, so moving forward, let's go to market analysis, and this will bring us to our first key point. And so what is your market analysis? This is your chance to demonstrate that there is room in the market for your storage unit facility. So, some people might be asking, well, how do I really know how to demonstrate that? And there's a few ways you can do that. Some are, professional ways, like you could order a research study, or even like Projection Hub offers market research reports. You can contact us if you're interested in that, but I'm not going to pitch you that today. It's not the point of what we're doing here. So you can certainly pay for those types of reports and have a more professional method done, but there are also some free ways to do, which I'm going to show you how to do some of that. So in general, this isn't like, when you see on Shark Tank and they're like the blah, blah, blah industry is a $3 trillion industry. Don't do that in your business plan. We're talking local market. the market that's actually going to have an impact on your business specifically. And so talking about the local market, what are the conditions of that? Competitors, you should know every single storage unit competitor within a 10-mile radius. Something important to know about storage units is people want them to be as close as possible to their house. Right here in America specifically, we have a material things problem. We love to hoard things and keep things. And so lots of people have storage units and they want them to be close by so they can access them quickly. And so that's something to keep in mind is you want to know who's close to yours because those are your customers close by. People aren't going to be traveling really far to a storage unit because it's pretty cumbersome. And so some examples of how we can do this. I'll give you two examples. One is something you can do to just start doing your homework. That's go to Google, do a search. This is Fishers, Indianapolis. I'm in the Indianapolis area. Fishers is kind of a suburb of Indianapolis. There's probably 300,000 people that live here. So you can even just see some of the options here. They're clustered along some of the busier roads. Okay, so I want to understand each customer, what they offer. Do they offer temperature control? Is it all outdoor? Do they have RV storage? How secure is it? Who has good reviews? Who has bad reviews? That's the kind of stuff you want to understand. Now, don't list all these in your business plan, but you want to have a really good understanding for your sake of being able to identify the right location. And if we do identify it's a tight market and we're going to have to disrupt it and take some market share from someone else, then we might need to include some other competitors in our business plan to say like, well, this person, this business plan, or this storage unit has really poor reviews. There's a really good opportunity to come in and take some of those customers. Then, you would do that. Second idea, another free thing you can do, you can create a Google Ads account for free. You don't have to start an ad, but there's a keyword planner tool in here. And what this enables you to do is to see some metrics around what people are searching for on Google. Specifically Google Maps, I think in this case would be powerful. So I have my location set to Fishers. So again, around 300,000 people. And I want to know how often are people searching for storage unit near me, self-storage near me. And this is going to do a few great things. One, it's going to show me a bunch of other keyword ideas that I didn't ask for. And then it's going to show me how many monthly searches and then trends, which I think is the most important thing. So keep in mind, number of searches, this isn't a representation of how many customers are using self-storage, but this is a representation of how many potential new customers every month there might be. So that's good to know in the area. And let's see about trend data here. So storage unit near me, you can see 3-month change, it's positive, really positive right here, but year over year down quite a bit. Okay, storage near me up, public storage near me up, RV storage down, cheap storage units up, so this is helpful to understand maybe where the market stands. Is there a large demand for it? Or, if you see negatives here, this isn't an indication that you definitely shouldn't open a storage unit. I think it's more of an indication that it's probably pretty tight. So we're gonna have to shift. We're gonna have to pivot our focus in our business plan to talk a little bit about how are we going to disrupt and take and capture some of the market versus, it's wide open, we just need to come in and grab it. So demonstrating this in the business plan is good. You can offer screenshots, you can put some narrative in that, but this can be helpful as you're trying to do that. So those are some free examples of how you can do some market analysis. Again, you can order market research reports and whatnot to get really specific. We'd be happy to help with that. But again, I'm not going to sell you on that here today. There's definitely ways to do that for free. Now, moving along, marketing and sales strategy. And this will bring us to key point number 2. But before I dive into that, you'll see the basics here. You need to include basics like here's what we're going to offer and sell. Here's our price points. We're going to have a website. We're going to have social media channels. We are going to advertise. That's kind of like the minimum expectation. That needs to be included in there. Now, what's really going to make your business plan shine on this section is if you can demonstrate. So we've already demonstrated that there is a market or, that it's going to be tight or, whatever your situation might be. The second thing we need to do is now demonstrate how are we actually going to capture those free floating customers or steal those customers. We need to demonstrate how we're going to do that. Now, there's a word that's popular in the tech space called traction. And that's kind of like a demonstration of momentum. A lot of times it's pre-launch. So can you demonstrate ways that you are basically setting yourself up to hit the ground running when the doors open? The last thing a lender wants to see is someone who's creating a business plan with this assumption that they build it, people are going to come, versus what lenders really want to see is a business owner or a founder who is hustling. That is, really setting themselves up for success because they're, kind of stacking the deck by getting momentum. So some examples of this can be a way to get creative. Now, this isn't, again, where you want to see like, we're going to run an advertising campaign because that's important. And you can even see here, example 3, utilize online advertising, search campaign awareness. Like, that's great. But if I was reviewing that wouldn't really do it for me. Here's an example that would really do it for me. And this isn't something everyone has to do, but it's just an example. So like Indiana has a lot of rural spaces, even close to the city. And so maybe you own some land, or maybe you know someone that owns some land that's not being used. And you say, hey, I would love to start, could I rent out some of your space to some RVs or boats or whatever? And I will, find the customers and split it 50-50. I don't know, whatever. You can come up with an example of doing that. maybe you start to get some customers established there, right? You get your name going, you have a little bit of a baseline of revenue, and then you do that for 6 months or 12 months. And then you're like, okay, look, we're going to open up a real storage unit 2 miles down the road. We can move these customers over there, right? So you're starting to build a customer base. Another example, you can see example here, one where maybe before launching, you raise a lot of awareness and you get as many people as you know signed up and interested that for the first year, they're going to get a special discounted rate on their storage, right? So you're kind of almost like reserving storage units in advance. That is a great example to a lender. If you can tell them like, hey, when we launch, we're going to have 30% of the storage units already occupied because we've got people on this waiting list and they're going to get a special discount for the first year. Those are great ways to demonstrate that you're not just kind of sitting on your haunches, and when you open, you expect people to show up. And a lender is going to love to hear that. So that is a demonstration of customer acquisition or traction. Whatever you can do there is going to do a lot for your lender. Okay, moving along. Operations and management. This is kind of just demonstrating, again, how you're actually going to manage the facility. I guess operate it and manage it. Staffing needs, again, you're probably going to want more than a sentence or two in some of these areas, but some starting information is in there. And key point number 3 is relevant industry experience. Now, storage units, I'm not going to say that it doesn't take a skilled person to run them successfully, but a lot of storage units kind of operate, autonomously, I guess I would say, is that they're there and it's kind of almost like passive. People come in with a passcode, they put their stuff in, they take it out. You probably have a person on site, maybe managing that at a desk or something like that, but you might not. And so your lender is not going to say like, wow, you need to have 10 years in self-storage experience in order to do this. But they're probably going to want to see that you have some relevant experience when it comes to running a business, owning a business, advertising for a business, something of the sort, just so you know what you're getting yourself into is really what they want to know. When I was a lender, oftentimes we would see people who spent a career doing one thing and then wanted to start a business that had absolutely nothing to do with what their career was. And that would create questions for us. Even if they had the money to do it, sometimes we just weren't sure if they always knew exactly what they were signing up for. And so just be prepared for questions if you don't have some obvious industry experience or relevant experience. And if you do, outline that. Even if it's not relevant industry experience, if it's relevant experience, outline that. If it's customer service, if it's advertising, if it's, rate negotiations for a land price or any of that kind of stuff can be relevant when including that. So highlight that in here. And if it's not you, anyone on your team, you can highlight experience of team members as well. That can go a long way. All right, now moving on to the big section, financial plan and projections. Now, this is the most important part of your business plan. Now, obviously, we're a little biased because we're Projection Hub and this is what we do with customers. But even when I was a lender, this is what we spent all of our time, most of our time, especially for startups, we're reviewing this. Personal finances and then projections were kind of like the two big things. And so you want to make sure you do the section well. Here, you can see I've included some breakdown of like startup funds. Now, this example is like, it's not a small project, right? $4 million is not small. They don't all need to be that big. If this is just an example, we've got a snapshot here of 5 years of some high-level financial data, like projected sales, profitability, expenses, some storage unit-specific data there, like total units, how many properties you can see in the set of projections. We want to add a few properties over the next 5 years, some key ratios, a breakdown of operating expenses. You can see some of these are based on per property and some of them are just a fixed amount. And then we've got 5 years of an income statement or profit and loss projections, cash flow statement, break even, sales growth, you can do balance sheet. And all of those charts and graphs were made using this template. So this is a little bit of a shameless plug, just real quick, because we have had a lot of customers find this very valuable. Creating financial projections is really difficult to do on your own. And also it's really expensive if you have an accountant or a CPA do it. This template and all of our templates were built by our very own CPA on staff. And then they're built in a way so that you can fill it out on your own without having to pay thousands of dollars. So you can see here, just as a quick overview, the blue boxes are where you input your information. Pretty simple. There's a whole video guide to guide you through filling it out. You can put down the units or the properties you're going to have here, how many units they have, purchase price information, loans. It's going to calculate, do you have enough capital, how much capital do you need? It's going to calculate your projected revenue based on how many rental units you'll have, your occupancy rate or vacancy rates, your utility costs, your insurance costs, annual increases in rent or expenses, and it's going to calculate all of the revenue for you. Again, your expenses here on a per property basis or overall basis. If you need salaried employees, those will go here. And then it's going to generate all of these charts and graphs for you, exactly what you need for your financial projections. I know I'm covering it up here a little bit. You're going to get the 5-year annual summaries, but then what your lender's really going to want is the 12-month or the monthly breakdown of those 5 years for cash flow and balance income statement. So that is a really quick plug for that. But financial projections are not key point number 4. Because they're a requirement, especially if this is a startup, you're going to have financial projections, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years, 5 years is conservative. Sometimes if it's a larger real estate involved thing, you might even want 10 years or more, but it's required. So what is key point? It's that they're realistic financial projections. And you may be wondering, well, how do I know if they're realistic? If you have a lot of experience in the industry, you might know if they're realistic. But if you don't, then I would say, just go to Google, right? So let's say you've got a lot of good, in my projections here, I've got a lot of great industry specific lingo that I can lean on. So let's maybe look up, I had a tab pulled up for gross profit or for profit margin. You can see mine here is starting out low because first year, and then storage units take a little while to scale up, but you can see we get up to the 15%, 24%, 26%. And a quick Google search will reveal to me, typically hovers around 41% mark to be established. So my projections are a little low on the profit margin. So if a lender has a question about that, maybe I'm being conservative or maybe I'm downplaying something a little bit. And you might want to look up, what's typical number of units, what's typical revenue. You can see on this chart over here, these high level items are a percentage. So these are good ones to look up. What is a typical percentage of operating expenses, compared to sales for a storage unit? And just compare that. Your lender is going to work on lots of different deals for businesses and industries. So they're not going to have like the storage unit, golden rule in front of them of what your numbers have to look like, but they do want to feel like those ranges are going to be realistic and that you're being realistic with it. They might have industry benchmarks, but you can do that just by filling out your projections and then just doing some Google searching and just weighing that against what you're finding to make sure it feels realistic. So that's key point number 4. You have your appendix if you have any supporting documents down here. And then the 5th and final point is a thing called skin in the game. And now what is skin in the game? It's a demonstration of mutual risk. Just like if you were buying a house and you wanted a $300,000 home, your bank might say, we'll give you 80% or 90% of that, and then you have to put the other rest in as a down payment. And you say, great, and then you're also going to have a lien on your house. So if you default on that mortgage, you're going to lose your down payment and you're also going to lose your house. Business loan, that's not to sound grim, business loan is going to be a similar concept, right? If you want a $100,000 loan, or in this case, multiple millions of dollars of loans, you're going to have to put in a down payment or on that, or a personal investment, as they might call it. That doesn't have to be your money. It can be someone else's money, but that's going to be required. And then they're going to want collateral. So in a storage unit example, you probably have land and the property you build on that can secure that loan. So that probably is taken care of. If there's a collateral shortfall, your lender might want you to put in personal collateral. And there's a few options you can do there. But when I was a lender, oftentimes applicants would say, well, they had heard the advice, keep your business and personal separate. And I say that is great advice when it comes to bookkeeping and accounting and things where you can keep that separate. When it comes to getting a loan, a lot of times, especially for a startup, and if you're going to go like an SBA route, you're going to be connected to it personally. And, they might want a personal asset if it's under collateralized or a personal guarantee or different things. So just be prepared. And I'm not telling you to give away the farm to the bank, but if you really want to wow your lenders, be prepared on what you are going to do to secure that loan and what you're willing to do. So understand what those numbers look like. If you're getting $1 million loan, do you have $1 million in collateral prepared? And just have that outlined instead of just waiting for your lender to ask you what the collateral picture is going to look like. And there you have it. This link for this template will be down in the description below. As promised, I'm not sure if I promised it, but I'm going to give it to you now. If you'd like the financial projection template, I've also linked that in the description below. And if you use PH20BP, that will get you 20% off that discount. Reach out and ask if you have any questions, support@projectionhub.com. We'd be happy to help you. Also provide a free review of any projections you have or if you fill your projections. So thanks again for your time, and we appreciate it, and good luck.